you guys pretend to have the flu, but I saw you at the Bulldog yesterday.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but
Colds, doesn't it? Dries
we
up a
needed
cold.
some downers, man.
To pick up the phone, I guess.
See, they were there last night.
No, I was kidding. Everybody goes there, though.
It's fairly handy, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a bad place to go, actually.
Is it?
Spreads you out, though. So cheap. Okay. So the Bulldog. What's up with that?
It's in a Christmas spirit. It made me feel all Christmassy.
It was very festive there last night, Joe.
Yeah?
Well, because it's like across the road from the hotel.
Yeah.
And,
No one showed us anywhere better to go, so
That's a big problem, I guess, because there's a lot of better places to go to, especially here in the neighborhood.
Well, when we have some more time, perhaps we'll do some research.
You guys will play here once?
We're going to play here, yeah. So, well, I should think it'll be in the new year, early in the new year, that we're trying to get some dates together at the moment. We're just warming up at the moment, playing a few gigs and getting our heads around the idea of playing live, because we've been in the studio for a long time. And it's gone really well. Every gig we do, it gets a bit better, and we feel a bit more comfortable about it each time we're doing it.
Yeah.
So we're off to Rennes, to the Trans Musical Festival.
it was our third gig the other night, and we've done 3 gigs. Moloko's done 3 gigs ever, and I've done 3 gigs ever. So
Ever?
Yeah.
4.
Well, I did do one when I was about 15, 14, but all I was doing was screaming, so I was hiding behind a...
You played in the punk band?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
What name?
Oh my God, you'll never understand.
X-Ray Specs.
Do you have braces?
They were called And Turquoise Car Crash and they were just it was just a band of me and my friends that lived in suburbia, and we were really bored, and we were in this band and we only did 1 gig ever.
Wow.
And
That's pretty punk.
but all we did was scream and fight with each other on stage, so it could only really work once, the novelty would probably wear off. So
And in comes Paula. She also works in the show. Paul and Paula, yeah, well. But anyway, you shouldn't stop playing punk, because, punk's getting big now, especially in Holland. You must have noticed that in Europe, I guess.
I think we've got some punk attitude.
Yeah.
I certainly have, still within me, And the live thing, it borders on being quite punky. It borders on rocky, but we're still pulling it back, and it's still funky, But we're pushing it all the time to be more and more extreme, because that's how it works when it's live. I think the more extreme you can get when you're live, the more powerful it becomes.
It's just like doing another mix. It's like remixing the songs in a way. They've come out quite different live, but it's just like another remix, if you like.
What sort of crowds do you attract, you guess? You haven't played that much, but...
Well, we've done 3 gigs, and they've all been sort of fairly secret, nobody's really known about them beforehand, so we've just had a fairly wide cross-section of people at our gigs, because we haven't been necessarily attracting Moloko fans, because nobody's known about them until they happen, because they're just warm-up gigs, and if they were awful, we wouldn't want anybody to see, so, but we seem to be crossing quite a lot of boundaries with our music, I think. Yeah. Especially live, it seems. Even people who've got the album and like the album, some people preferred it live, some people like it just as much. People who didn't like the album, like it live. It just seems to be, cross quite a lot of boundaries live.
How did you people meet?
Actually bumped into each other at a party, and Róisín was dancing around with some friends of hers singing a line which is the album title, Do You Like My Tight Sweater?
I was sort of got this phrase going which was sort of, my friends and I were chanting it, and it was the phrase of the evening, I was just going, do you like my tight sweater. And just kept saying it over and over again over this track, and ended up actually that night going down and making the track in the middle of the night in the studio, because the studio was empty, and Marc thought it sounded good. I thought I was trying to talk him into making it into a track, and we went down and made it into a track, and that was the night we met.
So, and you got signed immediately, or what happened?
Well, we were just doing it for a laugh, you know. It was just good fun to do, and we did about 2 or 3 tracks, I think, and for a laugh. They don't appear on the album, and they're probably very different to the way the songs.
Well, Party Weirdo was the second one.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of had a life of its own, you know. It's just one of those things that you don't question how it happens; it just happens. So we're just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And it seems to sort of become another thing each time. Like, especially now we're doing the gigs, it's just become another thing again. You see what I mean?
Yeah, so changing all the time. Who did the sleeve of the album?
Some people called Designers Republic, which are graphic designers set up in Sheffield, and they're very good. They usually do. They have a very certain style for their. There is a Designers Republic style, but the Moloko album has nothing to do with that at all. What we did was just say to him, to this guy called Ian, who works there, is a friend of ours. I mean, he runs it. Said, whatever you do, don't do it like you do everything else. Just totally do it completely different to what all the other stuff that you've done. I mean, they did all the Pop Will Eat Itself stuff and that, and they very much started a style and a genre within graphic design, and it just went mad. You know, I just listened to the music, and I mean, we said we wanted sort of cartoon, childlike kind of a thing, and I think he really got into it, and you can see it when you look at the album sleeve.
I was like, this is a new dance band or techno band, or what's up?
Well, I think the thing about cartoons is that they're kind of universal. You know, everyone likes them in one way or another. And I don't think there was any particular one image we wanted to project, you know, so...
Hence not using ourselves on the album, which is just like, immediately you just give everything away. There's no mystery, there's nothing, you know. You don't have any sense of kind of opening something and getting into something on your own, and, you know, I just think that, you know, having pictures taken and posing on the front of your record it's really boring.
In comes the coffee.
You know, you can use that space for something much more interesting.
That's kind of special. Just like most artists love ego tripping, I guess.
Not me.
Anyway, so what's your video like?
Our video? Which one?
You're not in there, I guess.
Which one?
The Fun For Me video?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both in it, actually. Playing sort of roles. We decided to become actors for a couple of days. Róisín plays 2 roles. One's this kind of sleepwalking, sort of...
Hammer Virgin.
Hammer horror, virgin, nightmare, dolly figure. And what's the other role?
I don't know what the hell the other one is. It's a kind of a space age. It's just weird, isn't it? I'm in a shop window, and basically I'm in control of this other character that I play, which is this Hammer Virgin who's in a trance, and Marc, who's this sort of radio enthusiast bloke who sort of you know, he's picking up signals, and he's got like an aerial, and he's just drawn to wherever the signal will take him. So he's a complete subservient to the radio signals. He's just following this radio signal everywhere.
It's fun to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
really fun, yeah.
My friend made it. The girl that lives with me made the video. She's my best friend, and it's really good. It's like our first video, and it's really good.
What do you think about the Britpop scene now? I mean, bands like Blur and Oasis.
Well, Blur have just released the first record that I actually like. I actually quite like the new single. It's quite nice, and it's funny to see sort of the video, which is sort of Clockwork Orangey and stuff like that. But the thing about the Britpop bands, the thing that really annoys us about them is that they're just sort of dependent on, totally and utterly, especially Oasis, dependent on greater records that have been made before them.
They're like heritage bands.
Yeah, it's like English heritage.
You know.
You know what I mean? It's really sad. It's like Laura Ashley.
What do they rip off then? What do they rip off?
Well, you know,
everything that's great.
Anything that, you know, there are Led Zeppelin chords in there, you know, but done in the Beatles style. You know, this is cabaret. This is like club bands. These are like what we call working men's club bands, gone crazy. You know, I mean, it's done very well. It's done very well, and the whole sort of battle of the bands between the Blur and Oasis is a thing that's been going on since the Beatles and the Stones, and
it's media hype.
Yeah, it's media hype, but it's a tradition.
By marketing, though.
It's just kind of marketing tradition. It's like a music business tradition as old as the Fender Stratocaster. You know, it's just really boring.
But it's there for marketing purposes. You know, it's not a tradition that's there just for the sake of it. It's there to sell records. You know, so. Every time, you know, every few years, if they can recreate a Rolling Stones and Beatles scenario, they're going to sell records, you know. I mean, it's just... We're very cynical about it.
Are there any good Britpop bands?
There are some very good Britpop bands. I think Blur are very good, and I also think Pulp are very good. And I do think Oasis have had their moments. I mean, we're not trying to say that they don't.
Pulp's ripping off David Bowie, of course.
Is it? Oh, I don't know.
It could be, yeah.
They're friends of yours, I guess.
I don't think you get David Bowie saying the things that Jarvis says.
It's a lot more ironic.
It's more ironic.
He looks a bit like it, and the moves are a bit like it, and he's a bit sort of pointy, but he's much more ironic. I mean, there's a subtle difference. I don't know.
It's very esoteric, you know. It's very much about Jarvis, isn't it? I suppose. And he's Jarvis. He's nobody else is like Jarvis, you know. He's just Jarvis.
You know him?
Yeah, not very well. No, I've met him. You know, he's not my friend or anything.
What do you think?
There's other stuff from Britain than just Britpop. I mean, how do you feel about like? Aren't they from Sheffield?
They're on a Sheffield label, Warp, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, personally I find them really dark and you know, really, really dark. But that's their job, you know, is to be dark. We played with Red Snapper the other night, and they were quite good. They're also a Warp band. I mean, I don't know, at the moment that's not how we feel. We don't feel that dark. I've made dark music before, and it's not the right thing for me. I don't enjoy listening to it for very long, you know.
I think your music is totally American, actually.
It's really American.
Yeah, I thought you were from America. I was like,
Yeah.
this is a New York band trying to be Brit or something. I was like, this is the new hip American thing.
A lot of people do, you know, but there are subtle differences, you know. We are from Sheffield. You can hear it in the music. If you really listen hard enough, you know, the attitude is on some of the tracks especially.
The thing is, it's not a sort of really... I say this with caution, right, but, you know, a lot of bands want to sort of bare their soul and, you know, and sing in a Cockney accent or whatever, or rap in a Cockney accent or whatever. But for us, Moloko's like a little fantasy world, so we can be whatever we want to be in it and make whatever kind of music we want to do. We did a track the other day with an orchestra, you know, which was a real indulgence by the record company, but, you know, like an orchestra with some synths and stuff like that, you know, which, you know, for us is that was sort of a glamorous fantasy.
That was us being glamorous, you know, Shirley Bassey scene.
Shirley Bassey and all that, you know, and that's what we want to do, have fun with the music and kind of indulge fantasies, you know. There may be cheap fantasies as well, that may be like, let's have a little sort of tacky drum machine fantasy, you know, but it's not really such a big honest thing. We kind of are left really cold by people who sort of say, I hurt a lot and I want to tell you about it, you know. sometimes it can be very, very meaningful, and it works. But more often than not, it just seems like a really sort of hollow
It's
statement.
not that we'd never do it, it would just be that we wouldn't do it on every single song that we do, and that it would have to be addressed very seriously. It wouldn't, if I was going to sing a song about pain, then I'd have to not that it would have to be really, really serious, but that I would have to look at it seriously and not use it just as an affection on a song. It'd have to mean something. It'd have to be some truth in it, and that's the only way it sort of means anything to me. And when people do it over and over again, and every song that they do, is about that. Like a lot of the American rock stuff, like the whole stuff and that. It just washes. You just get desensitized to it, and you don't believe it anymore. Because it's just every single song is about her wanting,
no humor at all,
being raped by the world, and the pain of it and everything. And it just washes over me after a while. It's much more interesting to make a song that people have to investigate to actually find out what it's about, or that a song can mean totally different things to totally different people. To make a song do its work properly, you have to shroud it in some kind of mystery, I think, for people to either interpret it differently or have to investigate to find out what it really means.
Why did you leave Ireland?
I left with my family when I was 12, so my whole family upped and left and went to Manchester.
Manchester?
Yeah. And that's where I got into the punk band, because I was so bored.
One club in Manchester, the Swinging Sparn.
Oh yes, I've been there to see gigs, yeah. Horrible place. Dregs of the earth.
I was actually when I was in Manchester, I was in the middle of when Stone Roses were big.
Yeah.
Manchester.
I lived there then, yeah.
I was like, this place was even more poor than like Eastern Germany or Poland was. The place is still bombed out by the Germans. Never rebuilt it. Still the case?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I lived in a fairly sort of pretty boring suburban area, which wasn't really in Manchester, sort of Stockport, which is just outside Manchester. But I did, go. When I got a bit older, I used to go to clubs in Moss Side and stuff. And you'd be in Moss Side and in a club, and everybody be dancing and having a good time. And next thing you'd hear some gunshots go off, and like sort of 50 blokes would run out the door. You turn around, they'd all be running out the door to do. I don't know what they were doing. They were all running out the door anyway. And then you'd be left with them with no blokes in the club at all, just be all women. They're all standing around looking at each other and going, oh well.
I've been in a night in Manchester where people were slipping around on the dance floor in the blood on the floor.
No way.
It's just shocking, man. Someone came in with a machete and then went out again, and then it's just like blood, but everyone was like...
Yeah, and I mean, I've been in a club when I went to the Hacienda one night, and we were all kept in. The club night ended at 2:30, and it all. Oh, here comes someone. I finished the story. They kept us in till 6 o'clock in the morning, or 6:30, because somebody had stabbed 7 bouncers, and they were keeping us in there with the person who had stabbed, like when you're in school and they say you're not letting you out until the person owns up. And we were all in the club with this like mad lunatic. Somebody in the club was a mad lunatic. So it's like, but it was great. We had great camaraderie and all like sitting around drinking water, which is all they'd give to us. Like, and then when we came out of the club at 6 o'clock in the morning, there was a row of policemen on either side with shields. Making a human corridor, like for about a mile outside the club, like a human corridor of policemen and shields. And then above there was all helicopters going around, and it was just incredible. I think they did, yeah, they did catch him.
Well, I hope your gigs will be more peaceful.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm sure they will.
Thanks a lot. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.